Hey guys, this is Dave with SpinnerX Studios, and I went to HeroesCon last weekend. If you'd like to hear about it and see the books I picked up, stay tuned. All right, as I mentioned, I went to HeroesCon, and I'm going to show a few clips while I'm talking here. I don't really have much in the way of clips. I did take a little bit more video, but when I tried to download some of the clips, I was getting corruption error. I don't know what the hell happened. But anyway, and I have to admit, I don't feel real comfortable in walking around and shooting video. Sometimes people kind of give you dirty looks, and I don't have the steadiest of hands, so what you're going to see is pretty minor here. But anyway, I've been wanting to go to HeroesCon for quite a number of years. I think you guys know HeroesCon is billed as one of the last, comic-centric conventions, at least comic-centric large conventions. And I have to say that it lived up to its reputation. It was a great con. Had a very large artist alley, and then as far as the merchandise tables, I'm going to guess about 80% of the booths were comic books. So, and a lot of big dealers that I've recognized over the years, going all the way back to the late 80s when I started going to San Diego ComiCon. And I will tell you, the first time I went to San Diego was probably 86 or 87. And at that time, for those of you who've been to San Diego Comic-Con, the convention was in an old convention center. And the HeroesCon reminded me very much of that experience. The convention center in Charlotte is kind of old. It's an older convention center, obviously, but when I walked in there, and looking at the dealer's room and all, it brought back memories of San Diego and just the sea of comic book dealers that used to be there in San Diego. And as you guys know now, San Diego is mostly a pop culture event, and the comic book dealers have kind of been pushed to the side. But anyway, yeah, really a good show, a good time. If I had one complaint, and if by some odd off chance somebody at Heroes, who's in a position of being in charge, hears this. The one complaint I had is, I pre-ordered my 3-day pass and I walked down there Friday morning, and there's a big line, and it snakes out of the building outside, and it was hot. I mean, it was in the 90s, and it's very humid. And, I come from Denver. It's very dry, and so it was not pleasant standing in that line. And, the Denver Fan Expo, one thing it's not a comic book show, but one thing I'll give them is that you can order your badges in advance. They'll mail them to you, and then you can go on your phone or the internet, and you can actually check in and activate your badge. And I really think they need to do something like that at Heroes. When you snaked into this line and you finally got in the building, they had 3 spots, 3 people essentially that were activating your badge and giving you a little wristband that you would wear to get into the convention. And with all due respect to Heroes, that is not enough people to work a desk like that. They needed to at least triple that number. But like I said, it would even be better if they did some kind of advance, mailing of your passes. So anyway, that was my one little complaint. Before I get to the books, I want to give one shout out. I was eating lunch Friday afternoon. I kind of have an upstairs area, with tables, and I wouldn't really call it a food court, but a few food dealers. And so I'm sitting there eating, and a guy at a table next to me, he has a shirt on. It was that Punch Comics shirt, the one where it has the big skull and people are kind of like hanging out of the eye sockets of the skull and all. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about. So I finished my lunch, and as I got up to walk away, I went over and I asked the guy, I said, hey, do you own that Punch Comics? And he said, no. But he said, do you do a YouTube channel? And I was stunned. I said, yeah, my name's Dave, and I have a channel called Spinnerx Studios. And he said, well, hey, I watch your channel all the time. And the guy's name was Sam, and he was there with his daughter, Samantha. And so I had a nice, 10, 15-minute conversation with them. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Sam and Samantha. It was good meeting you, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the convention. All right, guys, I'm starting to show books here. There was one book that I was at the top of my list, and it was Archie Powell's Jughead number 79. And I'll try to insert a photo of it here. It's that cover, it's an iconic cover with the creature from the Black Lagoon coming up out of the swimming pool there. And I thought for sure that book would be there. So I had a plan of attack. When I got into the hall, I immediately went to one corner of the hall and I just started canvassing all the comic book dealers. And before I started flipping through books and all, I'd go up to their table and I'd say, do you have Jughead 79? Do you have Jughead 79? And nobody had that book. And what's worse is that, it was, the show had only been open maybe, an hour and a half or so. And a number of the dealers said, oh, I've already had a couple people asking for that book. So I did not get the one book that was at the top of my list, but I still got some really good books. And so let's look through them. Okay, first of all, here is Uncanny X-Men number 120. Somehow I was missing a couple issues from that Claremont run starting at 94, and I don't know how. But this is 120, and I think this is the first appearance of Alpha Flight, if I recall correctly. And then the other one I was missing was 116. And so now with that, I have a full run of X-Men starting from 1 up to the point where they went into reprints. I didn't buy the reprints, and then starting with the Giant Size X-Men number 1, and then of course 94, up until, I don't know, maybe 300 issue 350 or somewhere. At one point I just quit buying X-Men. It was too much of a soap opera, too many characters to keep track of. So, but anyway, that kind of fills out a couple little holes. One book I was real happy to get, as you know, my wife and I do a lot of Halloween, and so here was this is issue 15, Werewolf by Night, kind of one of the bigger issues in this run, the meeting of Dracula and Wolfman there. Okay, I ran across a couple dealers that had some really nice Atlas Westerns. And so this is Gunsmoke number 70. This is from 1962. Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers on the inks. Gunsmoke 68 from 1962. Another Jack Kirby cover. And for the most part, these were in a nice condition, kind of mid-grade, kind of upper mid-grade. And hopefully you're not getting too much glare there. All right, this is Gunsmoke 73 from 62. Once again, Jack Kirby. Issue 67, also from 67, and I'm sure you recognize it as another Kirby cover. Okay, there was one place that had some Christmas stuff, and so I picked up this book. This is issue 49 from 67, real cheap. This is Journey into Unknown Worlds number 6 from 1961. Sol Brodsky cover. This was just kind of a cover buy. I got to talking with the dealer. He was a retired school teacher. He said he couldn't make ends meet with his pension from his school career, so he was trading comic books. But this cover kind of got my eye, and it'll be out at Halloween time. All right, going back into some Westerns, this is Kid Colt 31, a really solid copy, 1953. Sol Brodsky cover, Carl Burgos on the inks, and hopefully I'm pronouncing all these names correctly. Rawhide Kid 37, this is from 1955, Jack Kirby. And you know, it's just, you've heard me say before, these Atlas Westerns are hard to come by, and especially hard to come by in nice shape. And all of these were at least probably, you know, like 5.0, and most of them a little bit better. There was a crew of about 5 or 6 of us from Denver area that went to this show, and one of my buddies, Randy, knows that I collect Christmas, and so he picked this up for me. Thank you very much, Randy. Frank Cho cover. Then I went to one booth that had a bunch of Christmas half off and price not too bad to begin with, and so I picked up a number of Frosties that I was missing. These were, you know, kind of just VG, VG minus type shape, but very nice and presentable. So I was real happy to be able to fill out a number of these Frosties. Yeah, I don't know how many there are in this 4-color run. These are from 4-color comics, but there are quite a number of the Frosties. Okay, here's the last one. I'm going to get to my 3, what I'm going to call bigger books that I picked up. As I mentioned, Jughead was at the top on my list, but Jughead 79, but I was unable to find it. But one book that I was been wanting is this Jack Kirby from 1962. Dick Ayers on the inks, issue 107. And of course, this is kind of a famous cover from that run where you got a Western with kind of a space alien monster in it. And I kind of like these quirky covers where, you know, you have a genre of a book that kind of crosses over with another genre, and especially monsters and sci-fi and stuff like that. And then this one, and by the way, this is just a really, you know, a strong copy, probably, I don't know, 6.5, 7.0. And then this is Ghost Rider. This is issue number 11 from 1953. And Dick Ayers on the cover, on the pencils. Once again, you know, here you got a Western essentially, and really, I think the only spot that Ghost Rider is at is up here in the corner. It's got his head, but it's known as the Devil cover. And so I was really happy to pick this up, and I picked it up along with that Kid Colt you just saw, and on a cash deal I was able to work out a pretty favorable deal, I believe. And then finally, I wasn't able to get the Jughead, but I did pick up another Archie kind of Halloweenish based cover. And this is Archie, this is issue 18 from 1946. So yeah, that will be going out at Halloween onto the spinner rack. All right, guys, well, there you go. Overall, a real successful trip. I had a great time out there. Will I go back? Well, now that's an interesting question. I do have some big news for myself, and I think I kind of hinted at this, but I retired on June 1st. And so this trip was a little bit of a retirement present to myself, and But one thing that comes with retirement is you kind of have to reassess how you spend money. And my wife and I are going to go and see a financial planner at the end of this month and kind of try to get a feel for, well, how much money can we withdraw out of our retirement accounts? And one you'd go to Heroes Con to buy comic books. It's not a type of show that has a lot of cosplay or anything else like that. So I think there's really only one reason to go to Heroes Con, and that is to buy comic books. And my collecting journey is going to have to change. It's not going to come to a complete end, but the amount of money that I have available that I could spend, on books like this is going to change. So anyway, guys, hey, leave me a comment. And did you go to Heroes Con? And what was your favorite book? So guys, hope you're doing well, and take care, and we'll talk to you later.